Welcome to Babble from the Rabble. Quote of the day, observation of the day, bullshit line of the day. Sponsored by CP3PO. The you can evolve to in the future. Star Wars does not have to be a part of your imagination. Hell, you can be part CP3PO. Well, the good part. Because the new norm is evolution, transhumanism. Be the best you can be, but let us be a part of it. Let us make you better than creation has, because we are the future. Okay, quote of the day. I believe it is attributed to Albert Einstein. Not sure though. Our technology has surpassed our humanity. Now, if I'm correct, I believe that was in relation to the atom bomb, or Fat Man, Little Man, the atom bombs. And today, we have gone so far down the road. If you have not heard of transhumanism, it's here. If you understand Neuralink, Elon Musk, people, I'm sure they have it already, but he has been promoting his Neuralink, where you will have links embedded in your brain, so that you could link up with the internet. And there are many people talking about biotech. I mean, just you can go online, DARPA or HARP, and look up biotech. I mean, we may be catching up to it late, but this may be 20 years in the mix, and at least 10. So, and it's been justified. Not only has the idea of melding, because the word biotech says it within the word, and this is an industry already, right? Biology, organisms of the body, and technology. Now, there has been many leaps and justifications that are really against principles that was set. And this ties in with preemptive action. These two things come together. They're both steps that have been taken that go against our basic principles and have on a road to crazyland, or at least in America, unconstitutional behavior or immorality, which is, those two things are separate. And this is, I'm saying this understanding separation of church and state. And how is this? We were not supposed to patent anything related to anything living, a living organism. It was not supposed to be marketed, patented. And I believe the step was made legally. There was a environmental spill, I believe it was oil, and there was an organism, bacteria said, that could be used, that would naturally eat and clean, if it was, say, if it was oil, eat the spill. So they said, okay, well, we're going to allow this to be patented. So here we go. So for all we know, if you are into corporate espionage, you create that spill because you want to bring in that patent, because people do these things. It's no different from the guy throwing a brick through the window and coming to the storefront and say, well, I can make sure that doesn't happen again. Because he's the guy throwing the stone through the window. So, but now, the implications, not only that we could patent or monetize or even just, or manipulate the human organism, it's justified already. Biotech, this is an issue coming up with the vaccine. If you're not aware of it, Moderna is the company who has been tasked with warp speed vaccinations. And some of the key, and I may be wrong, look into it yourself, but it seems that Moderna has zero experience with flus or vaccinations, but they have a wealth of experience in genetic engineering, biotech. And I saw a quote from the president of Moderna. If it's correct, it may be wrong. I'm not an expert. I'm just giving you information that I have tried to follow up and validate myself. And I'm just sharing with, I'm practicing the First Amendment of free speech and having a communication to put the factors on the table so we as Americans, we the people, can make decisions in our best interest. We do not need experts to have us make decisions about our lives and our body, because our bodies are our property. And these health authorities want to make those decisions for you, and they're starting to do it already. And we ain't having it. Woo! Slow motion left side. A little reference. So, yes, so this is the issue. So, and now to understand, we are not getting all the information. This is a global marketing campaign, PR campaign of pushing this around the world. Not only a vaccine, but a global authority, a global preemptive authority in which they are going to use biotech as preemptive security and a contact tracing. And now in these things that are supposed to be safety of virus and illness, which is just a natural form of, it's natural in the world, they are going to, of course, jump behind it and do as many surveillance things and take advantage of these situations as always has. And the reason why the United States of America has the checks and balances and the separation of powers that we have is that, yes, something can be said to be used under the guise of good, as a friend of mine always says, but it will always be used by, if it's one bad apple, all it takes is one bad apple. So all it takes is one bad apple to go in there and throw a monkey wrench in the show and turn us into a Stalinist country or a Nazi country or whatever the totalitarian shingle is that you want to hang up on what used to be the Constitutional Republic of the United States. Which is now, and it is all basically under global corporate rule or structure, which has no allegiance to any nation. So that is why we, as the United States of America, need to observe all of this and stand on a firm foundation of principles declared in the Declaration of Independence, because they are of natural law. They are, whatever your understanding the separation of church and state, whatever your understanding of creation, that thing that gives us life, natural, organic, not synthetic, not Moderna, not biotech, not nothing to do with technology, before the mind or hand of man even put a word on that which is, this thing that which we call Earth is a huge orb, and food just grows out of the ground. Right? Well, you just drink water without no need for an expert or regulation, because there was an agreement where we would put restrictions on certain areas, right? It's for food. Say a farmer, okay, farmer took this area, this was his land, this was his property, and he had rights to it, but he was responsible for it. And in our society, it was like, all right, well, he had to sell food, people were going to eat it, and we were going to work that together. There was a time where there was a crown, where there was a king, where he owned all that shit, maybe allowed a lord or two to have some kind of fiefdoms, and the rest of the people were subjugated. If a peasant was on the lord's land and picked up sticks from the ground, he was considered robbing the property of the king or the lord, and they would cut their hands off. If this is what you want, this is, we're going down that road, so good job. So, but some of us don't think that's a good thing. Well, the Constitution of the United States and the Declaration of Independence and the Forefathers fought a British Empire because they knew it was not what we wanted. So if that is what you want, you maybe should just go to Britain or Israel or Afghanistan or wherever it is you like. Anyway, so, but aside from that, I infused a bit of personal perspective there. But in regards to biotech, technology merging with life, right? So what the president of Moderna said is like, this vaccine is the first of its kind. And what we are what we are going to do is we are going to go into the DNA of a human being and go to the strand that that is in charge of the strand of DNA that takes care of the immunity regarding COVID-19. And they are going to boost the immunity for that area. So now, and he says, and in the future, it may be the way we are addressing this, it may be something that we could update later. So look at the implications in that statement. Look at you. So they're interfacing the health industry related to whatever the authority that's going to be attached, because now we're bringing in a new health. Now, look at COVID. Now attach what that is said. Some people are saying mandated, and this is another thing. Through the whole, I know I'm jumping from our technology has surpassed our humanity, because inalienable rights endowed by the Creator is related into natural law and what it is to be human and free, right? Our technology has gone to a point where it has been about the subjugation of nature in regards to technocracy, some are saying. And look at how your device, right? Say a computer, that now maybe you use your computer to interface with banking or work, or say you have some kind of program now, maybe you used to own on your computer, but now you need to get a subscription and you don't mind it because it updates, but you really now, your business is tethered to the Wi-Fi that you need for it. It's tethered to the corporation that now, if you get, it's like anything else, supply and demand, or, Adobe. If you get dependent on this product, they're going to make money on it. And we're not talking about America or bad. People are driven to subjugate people. And it's more people. That's what's happened to the United States of America. So anyway, I'm going all over the place, but it is all related, without a doubt. Transhumanism, I saw an interview with a bunch of elite academics speaking about the benefits of biotech, bioengineering, transhumanism, and that, say, because it always goes to someone who, things that of course we would all want, right? Someone who is maybe has lost the use of their arms or legs or even sight, that through biotech, through, say, a chip in the head, or, and this is really the Neuralink, this is what it is, or with different types of interfacing that they're doing now with technology and the human organism, that they could give someone function in their limbs if they had lost it. That if someone has psychological problems, now this is the thing with like psychotropic medicines, that where, okay, you're going to take a pill that's going to stimulate certain areas of your brain where maybe you won't be depressed or maybe you won't be so angry. Now, listen, we won't need to do that. All we have to do is interface with your brain. And now for health and medical reasons, and even we could do that through it's like a cell phone. Like basically, like, think about it, because they're doing this technology. You look at, but let me, before I go, so, but now the danger is, because now they're implementing these health mandates, right? Of how the safety of others, which is unconstitutional. You cannot take, in the constitutional republic of the United States of America, like what is happening now, the take it away of the First Amendment is a crime against the United States of America. We are under attack. But that is why, like, I'll give you an example. Right now, the school teachers in New York City, and the unions. They are saying, okay, we want you to come in and consent to random testing, but if you don't consent, we're going to send you home without pay. Other people don't hear that, but this is happening all over, right? So it's like, okay, no, so it's no different for a guy saying, okay, we're going to starve your children or we're going to throw you out on the street if you don't sign this consent form, right? Oh, you're not going to eat food if you don't put on a mask, because you have to wear a mask in every shopping center in, say, a city. And how else are you going to get food? You're going to have to put on a mask. Or you come into work, you have to put on a mask, or you're not going to get paid. And the fact of the matter is, we are not in a pandemic. All of the evidence, and this is not me, these are professionals talking out about this from the beginning. Doctors, virologists, experts saying, no, you do, because the approach we approached, the way we approached COVID-19 was radical. It was a type of, there's no reason we can't question that this is not a coup against the United States of America, because the United States of America is the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. It is, before we were 50 states, we were 13 states, and we had a Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. So before any of these borders came into the picture, it was always about the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, because it was about protecting the freedoms of the human being. That's what it is. So if you look at Whitkerson, you could look at Perspectives of a Pandemic. Has a lot of great interviews with professionals. There's a nurse Erin, I believe. She was a nurse. I think it was Perspectives regarding the pandemic 5. It's a nurse. She was an Iraq veteran. She was a nurse for 5 years. She came up to New York she wanted to take part in the situation, and she worked at the epicenter of COVID, which was Elm House Hospital. And she came out and said, yes, the negatives, they're falsifying stats, that people were coming in healthy, dying because they were putting them on ventilators, and she wore a camera with a microphone and a camera. And she said that some of the doctors were going, but if someone came in sick and they were going to put them on supposedly sick, and put them on a ventilator, they had to get consent from the family. She has someone on camera, one of the doctors, saying, "Oh, well, this is we are in different waters here. This is a special situation that we're not going to go through those channels." It's not me. This is a nurse that was working at Elm House Hospital that said she said they were killing people. Newt Whitkerson, I'm maybe getting his name wrong, pardon me. 25 years professional expert virologist, said we should have never herd immunity. There's to flatten a curve during a virus is the opposite of what you should be doing. You want a spike because you want everybody in that area to get it as soon as possible and go through it, and then say, well, it was a serious virus. Where's everybody? Where's all the dead people? Because it was simply a virus. The people who died were the people who were put on ventilators, and perhaps people with secondary conditions, which during a flu season, people die of old age because their body no longer has the immune system, or no longer can fight away these natural processes of life. That's why people die. We are part of a whole system within this earth of ours. And, when we get sick, if we have a fever, it is because our body is doing its job and fighting off. So maybe we have a little bit of a virus. So our body needed more time to rest to fight off what this is. That is natural. That is the way it's supposed to be. That is not a bad thing. That is a good thing. So what is technology? All of the whole health industry is geared towards these synthetic tech, because you can control it then, or you can monetize it. It's not about preventing someone from getting sick. It is about, okay, how could we, when someone gets sick, we have made a business of it, right? And now with global corporations that have no give about Americans or the Constitution, I mean, it's clear, it's evident. Because if you look, COVID-19 was dictated by the WHO in accord with an agreement. After what happens when the swine pandemic came in, these shakers and movers who now have people placed in the WHO, all representatives of corporations and from different countries, hire someone to be their spokesperson in some kind of group roundtable that they create, so these guys can push whatever agenda they want. So this one is named the WHO, the World Health Organization, which has people from communist China, which is fair enough, all over the world that do not act from the principles of the United States of America, which are the principles of the Declaration of Independence and freedom. So they made an agreement, not from we the people, whoever these people are, representatives of the health community. Somehow health and doctors, which is a business which has no authority over the property of my mind, are assuming authority over the well-being of the human race, because my health may come in contact with someone else's weakness, or I may have a cold and they can't. All this nonsense. There is no authority in that sphere, and they're trying to implement that. It's just about control. Whatever the details are, the principle is they are trespassing against our rights, inalienable rights, and that's it. Never mind who it is, the details. They do not step across these lines, and they have. They have no place. Whether it's a crisis, whether it's the war on terror, whether it's a war on COVID, whatever the show, the song, the bells, the flags they're waving, the distress video. Oh my! Here at 8, we got COVID-19, death in the streets. There are people falling all over the floor, masks not being worn, distances not being socialized, people being unruly. They are terrorists. We're not wearing masks. The new domestic terrorists of the United States of America are people who do not wear masks or do not social distance. They are a threat to Americans' humanity. This is basically what the bullshit is. And note it is bull. That's the bullshit line of the day. See how I'm incorporating all this? Getting hacked and having my computer not being able to upload video has opened up the door to this new creative form of communication. So, but I think I'm going to get a Vimeo account so I can pick up Hitting the Bricks again and communicate outside. So, now, not only do we have this area of technology has suppressed our humanity, look at Dr. James GiordanNO, his lecture to West Point, in which he states, which the title is The Brain, the Battlescape of the Future. And the whole idea is how neuroscience has been weaponized. And he tells the cadets, he says, I'm here to tell you today that the brain is a new battlescape, that you will encounter the weaponization of neuroweapons in your personal life and in your professional life. Whether those two coincide, irregardless, you will encounter neuroweapons because they are here and they are in play. And what are neuroweapons? This is what with technology. They call it weapons of mass destruction and disruption. WMD squared. Here we go back to Albert Einstein, right? Technology has surpassed humanity. Squared, right? Because now what the tool is through military, and they have justified this, but it's a crime against humanity. We are all electromagnetic, right? Our brains, our minds, and they can interface and they can disrupt that. They can disrupt your thoughts. They can disrupt people's feelings. They're doing already. This is technology that exists. We have satellites in the air. We have 5G technology. It's happening in Wuhan, China. If you don't believe me, watch the lecture. He explains it all very clearly that it is being weaponized already. But this is the thing. The reason why we are getting access to this James GiordanNO's lectures is that they need to justify it, that it is a weapon, and that we need to take measures to protect ourselves for or against. But it is a crime against humanity. It should not be used. And the fact of the matter is, cyber securities, preemptive securities are using these on Americans, on American soil already. If you don't believe me, go look at Dr. Robert Duncan, MIT, Harvard. He worked for the military industrial complex, and he was an inventor of this technology. And he has an MIT presentation in which he says neural weapons and the targeting of American civilians. So, what is terrorism? Terrorism is terrorizing someone to influence them in whatever way you want. What are we living in today? If someone has a weapon, they call them directed energy weapons, in which, say, one of the tactics is to disrupt someone's natural life process. Say if someone lives in a 9-to-5 world, what they would do with these weapons, these directed energy weapons, is they will tase, and like you would a tase, they can do it from a distance. They could do it from an individual with an individual device. They could do it with drones, or they can do it from a TV. They can harness 5G tech. That sounds crazy, but this is what the directed energy weapons are. They exist. So if, say, someone's sleeping, they will tase them at, like, say, 2:30 in the morning, and tase them for, so you can't rest. You do not get the recoup time to recoup your body, and you can't be, say, you can't work a 9-to-5, and say maybe you were working with the community. Say there's a global corporation, right, and they wanted to put a flobbergarden in your town. And you say, we don't want the flobbergarden in our town. We like our town the way it is. And you're working a 9-to-5, but you're getting together every Wednesday and Thursday with a group, and you're the head of the committee to stop this. Well, now the Flobbergarden will hire, say, maybe a cybersecurity group from another nation that's just global now, say based in Israel or Afghanistan or Britain or India or Guam. They'll hire the cybersecurity company to target you. How will they target you? You're working in 9-to-5, so they'll disrupt your life however they can, so you can't make it to work, to the meeting on Tuesday or Friday. How else? Maybe they'll slander you in your community so that it will discredit you with those people. They may even go farther, is to destroy your finances. That's called decomposition. They could go further, is to try to drive you into, because what they do is they want to win, right? If you're a cybersecurity firm and you're targeting someone in another country, it's a hit. So they don't care about you. You are the target. Their business is to take you out of the situation. It's to disrupt you, so you are not part of that group that's going to get rid of the flobbergarden out of your town. So they don't care. If they drive you to cutting your wrist and killing yourself, they have succeeded. Maybe they'll get a bonus. And they're not from America. They're a cybersecurity company that Homeland Security they may even have a government private contract with Homeland Security. And it's like rendition. They could work here, they could be over there. So a lot of these, like Black Cube with or other cybersecurity companies, they promote. They say, well, listen, we can act on your soil, but we're not restricted by your rules and laws, because we are in over here. We're in Israel. We're in Afghanistan. We're wherever it is. So they're protected like this, right? Technology has surpassed humanity, and it's simply the subjugation of nature, right? And if we are human beings living by natural law, and our basic principles of the Constitution and Declaration of Independence has to do with inalienable rights endowed by the Creator, that is all about nature, right? The subjugation of nature is of the crown, of the empire, of authority. How do I subjugate? And we have allowed certain mechanisms to go too far. This is all technology. And it's throwing, if you look around your neighborhoods, you look at all the fiber optic cables being thrown up like Christmas tree lights, and all these pads on buildings or on telephone poles, like little pads that they call them the weapons. No, what was it? I forget the term. It's V2K, voice to skull, and the voice of God weapon. If you go, there's a TED talk, and go to Voice of God, you'll see, or V2K, and his name is Woody. I always forget his full name, but he has a TED talk. He's one of the inventors of this weapon, and they may have took some of it down. But when I first saw his, you could still see his presentation. He talks about what it is it's a device, right? It's like a little pad. You see them all over now. That doesn't mean that's what they're being used for, but they have the capabilities. And he had this pad, and he was addressing the audience, and he went to each individual audience member, and he focused the pad on that individual audience member, and they could hear, or they thought they could hear, they they experienced the auditory experience of the waterfall, but the person sitting to their left or right did not hear it, because V2K, what it does is, when we normally hear something, the sound is reverberating in the air here, the molecules, and it goes into our ear canal and reverberates off the eardrum, and then that transfers the signals to our brains as hearing, like voices or auditory. So, and if that is the occasion, if it's loud enough, the people sitting to my right or left will hear it. What V2K does is it passes that process, and the reverberation is not heard out here. What happens is the signal is hits, like, say, the inside of the skull, so that the reverberations create that same process, but the vibrations aren't heard out of here. It is only vibrating within the skull or in the inner ear, so that only the person that this technology is targeted on, only they can hear it. It was called the Frey effect. They started it in the 70s, called the Frey effect, and they've developed it over time. Dr. Robert Duncan is one of the men that have, and the Voice of God, they call it this, is because when they were in Iraq, they were using these weapons, and they were soldiers, say, on a hill, and people that this is the story, the example given, and there were the enemy combatants coming forward with guns, and they said they targeted, it's like an LRAD thing, but auditory, and they targeted it on these enemy combatants. So, and they said, "This is Allah. Drop your weapons." And they dropped the weapons, and they went away. They went back wherever they went. So this technology exists, and what has happened is this is being used on Americans and American soil. People are being targeted in their homes for who knows what all the reasons are. So, because this technology is well known in the intelligence and corporate and intelligence world around the world. We don't know it, but people are being targeted with this all over America, all over the world. If you go to what is it called, cybertorture.com, there are people in the EU who have brought this to the attention of the UN. And I'm not the biggest fan of the UN, but they have, through legal terms, termed it cyber torture. What happens is it establishes it as this is an actual thing, because what it is, gaslighting, this is all done in silence and secrecy. Anybody who would speak about it would gaslight and be deemed crazy, because that's part of the discrediting process. But now, many whistleblowers have come out, and it's gotten so out of hand around the world. It's becoming apparent that this is what's going on. Technology surpassing humanity. So what I kind of fall back on is, at least in the United States of America, it doesn't matter what the arguments are for or against, and it doesn't matter if the people doing it are bad or good. If they meant something good, or if they're on this team and that team, it doesn't. If there's two teams fighting against each other, our inalienable rights is a line, right? They cannot be trespassed upon. And our Constitution, the oath taken by soldiers and servants, was to protect the Constitution and the people of the United States. That means freedom of speech, right to assemble, should never be trespassed upon. And our soldiers and our All law that is written should be derived from that. This is not what has happened. We are under attack. And the people that are enacting it may not be aware of it because they've been our economy has taken over the levers of whether you agree or not. It doesn't matter. This isn't about communism. It's not about capitalism. The levers inside those, like, this is what it is. In the United States of America, the economy is supposed to be a component of the society. The separation of powers, the separation of church and state, the Constitution is the center. Those are the principles of freedom that all else is derived from. So if the economy is not derived from those principles, then it is on, and we have gone a long way down the road. And what has happened is people, global players for a long time who took control over the levers of Wall Street and other central banking, global banks, global money interests, have made where the economy was to be a servant of the people, has made the people subjugated to the corporate state, global corporate state. And what is the problem here? It's not about communist good, capitalism bad, communism good. No, it is misplaced power, right? Because there are people, because they do not adhere to the principles of freedom. And that's that. And the reason why people are going to work with masks on and social distancing is not because they're worried about a virus. It's because they need to pay their bills. And we have allowed our people to be subjugated and leveraged to the hilt. And they're going all the way with it now. And this is what it is. And you have markets, you have telecom companies, telecommunication companies that are pushing this technology in. They've spent millions and billions of dollars on this, and they're not going to stop, but we have to stop. Bill Gates. Bill Gates is not a good man. Bill Gates is not a friend of the United States of America. Go to James Corbett, go to the Corbett Report and watch the most concise, fact-based information you're going to find regarding a man that's steering the country, steering the world. Think how much money is to be made off of a global vaccine. Not only that, Bill Gates was the head of Microsoft, right? Okay. He walked away from that, but he still has billions of dollars worth of stock options. And Microsoft moved to Israel. And now Israel, Tel Aviv, there's many areas where Microsoft is one of the heads of cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, all of these areas now being pushed into this health area that are outside the checks and balances or any kind of rule, understanding of the principles of freedom, right? And it's nothing to say bad about them, Israel, or what they're doing. They're a nation. This is their corporation. They play by their own rules. Netanyahu talks about power. He doesn't talk about freedom. Not saying he's bad or good. This is just what he's doing. They have their own nation. They're doing what they need to do for their nation. Our nation is not the 50 states. Those are borders that we have to protect, but it is the Constitution of the United States of America. It was 13 states. We had a Constitution, Declaration of Independence, and we expanded. Freedom should have expanded the world, should have expanded throughout the world, but it didn't. We allowed corporate principles and leverage under the guise of democracy. It was a lie. And we have to admit that our actions have not been derived from our principles because we were misguided. We were conned. They came in with a great public relations campaign. They gave us pensions and goodies, and we got comfortable, and we did things we should not have done. And we have to come to the point and admit we went down the wrong road. Or these people are going to take the United States over totally. And the United States of America will no longer be the whatever the shining pinnacle on a hill. It's going to be a satellite company, like a subcontractor of the global corporation. And you're serfs. That's what they're doing. People walking around mansions, social distancing, essential workers, you're subjects of the new crown. That's what it is. You're being told where to stand, what to put on your face. That's what's happening. It's not, and I understand it's not. I'm not judging people who have to do what they have to do because they have families, and but we need to be aware of what the problem is. And those who are not maybe totally leveraged need to get together. But this is the problem. Look, this is evidence. How are we supposed to assemble to get together to speak about this if they close all areas to assemble to speak? What evidence do you actually need that we are under attack? A soft attack with technology. And if we are based in natural law, the United States of America, the subjugation of nature, technocracy is what it, and if you don't understand what technology is, technocracy, I would suggest go to technocracy.com with Patrick Wood. There's a great interview with Richard Grove, Tragedy and Hope, who interviews Patrick Wood and talks about technocracy. Technocracy was something they came up with, from my understanding, in Columbia University in the 1930s. They did not have the technology then, but what technocracy is that they will have an internet of everything. Everything would be under a 24/7 inventory. And there will be no more supply and demand. It'll be a social credit score. It is what they're doing in Wuhan, China right now. It is a total 24/7 surveillance state where you would be technology linked in to the Internet of Everything. Now, and which you will be rewarded or punished energy credits in a social credit score. So that means like your direct deposit now, where it's like money. No, you'll have the same thing, but it'll be social credit scores where you'll be rewarded or punished whether you act or behave like a good citizen. Be a good citizen. But but you may agree with that now. But what happens when they change those rules to a different area? You have no say. You may agree now to say, well, my position now is this is America and this social credit score thing works because this is the way it should be. But once you're locked into this, the people who are controlling it are not Americans, and then they're going to move those lines where and whenever they want, and you have zero say. You know what the fact of the matter is? Most people have zero say right now. Look at your car. How is it linked in? There may be a time where you press a button to start your car, right? That button might, if you say they come in, right, and you get your social credit score gets knocked down and you go into your car, you have your little key, but you need to press your button to start it. But you got whatever they call, you got a negative social credit score that day. You won't be able to start your car because it's an Internet of Everything. They'll say, okay, you press that button. It's not starting. So no, you're being punished by, the technocratic gods, right? Or you go into your house, right? Because everything is an Internet of Everything. All this convenience, it's all convenient. But also, what they want to say, they haven't I think Amazon, you can have it linked in where you can go in, it's biotech. Oh, I'm paying. Yeah, it's so great. I just walk in and out of stores and I pay for what I pay. I walk into a store, I just take it off the shelves and it pays. Right? Oh, convenient now. What if when you have to walk in to a place to eat, right? I need food. Oh, I'm just gonna walk in. Oh no, maybe today we're not gonna let you walk in. Bend over and drop your pants, and maybe we'll let you get food. Oh no, but I don't want to do that. Well, then you don't get to eat. Right? Like the teachers, like the union teachers. Well, come into work and we want you to consent to random testing. And if you don't, well, go home and you're not gonna get paid. What's the difference of saying, okay, coming into work, well, everything, so I just have to walk in and out. And they say, okay, well, listen, come into my office. What can I do for you? Okay, I want you to bend over, drop your pants, and I'm gonna have my way with you. No, I don't want to do that. Well, okay, well, you don't want to consent to that, then go home and you're not gonna have pay. What's the difference? It's just a degree of what they're doing. It's the same thing. And they're doing it through technology. So what's attributed to Albert Einstein's quote, our technology has suppressed our humanity, was related to weapons of mass destruction, the atomic bomb. Today, if you go to the link of James Dr. James GiordanNO's lecture at West Point, Brain as the 21st Century Battlescape. It is now WMD squared, weapons of mass destruction and disruption through these technological devices. So, and please know, I understand, and it's not about me. I mean, you're saying like, who's going to watch this? Who may watch this anyway? And it'd be like, who are you? I've tried to place principles before personality. We need to do this as a country to save freedom. And it's not about doing whatever we want. It's about the foundational. The only reason anybody has what they have right now is because it was on a foundation of the principles of freedom. This great reset is these guys are coming in and tearing up that whole foundation of freedom and going to put a new rule, a new technocratic or global corporate rule in. Freedom is going to be gone. They're doing it already, and they're telling you to consent to it. This is happening, and so and not only that, and that's why people are being hit with this technology, because it's disrupting their lives, and we can't get out and speak to it. Even the people who do have a little bit of space, who can speak to each other, are being hit with technology disrupted. They're being hacked. They're hit with directed energy weapons, so they can't get out and speak with people. It's called active denial. They have active denial programs already. That they look online, go to the weapons. The weapons industry have their own commercials regarding LRAD, active denial weapons that they're selling. Directed energy weapons. Look at it. Go to the military-industrial complex, because they sell these weapons, and use your own imagination how it may be used. Because right now we don't have a right to. We have the right to assemble, but there's nowhere to go because they have executive orders taken away. But thank goodness there's like the judge in Pennsylvania said that you cannot write an executive order to take away any of those foundational principles. So actually, these executive orders are treasonous. Even initially, yes, we have to say in a crisis, we need to understand the factors. It is legitimate to say it's an executive order initially in a crisis. To say, all right, this may be a pandemic, this may be the Black Plague. We don't know. Okay, we're going to take these precautions. That is not an excuse to instate new rules of law, the new norm. No. Even if there is a pandemic, we'll deal with it because the principles of freedom come before anybody else's health. That's why people died for it, right? That's why people die before they get put in shackles to be slaves, right? That's why people fought and died against the British Crown. That's why people fight. That's why people fought the Nazis to die, because they would not allow themselves to be subjugated. That's why we have this freedom. And they're little by little, they're taking that away. And once that is gone, somehow with this new technocracy, they're not looking to use robots. They're looking to turn humans into robots. Look at Dr. Jorge Delgado, right? You could go online and see his experiments. He put a chip in a bull's head. This is years ago. He was from Spain, but he was a Yale professor. And he stopped the bull in his tracks with a chip in its head and a device, right? His quote is that human beings believe that they have free will and that they need to cultivate their intellect and their thinking. That's wrong. He says, no, they do not. He says, society needs to be controlled for the betterment of all. People should not have free will. His experiment with the bull is what he feels should happen to human beings. That's what they think humans. That is the subjugation of nature. Anti-freedom. Control. That is what is the They don't want to have to deal with rule of law. They have to, then that's messy. We have to hire these people that we don't even know if they're really on with us, but they need to make money. You know what? If we could just put chips in these fucks and like zap them when they're out of line, or have a technocracy where we could just really just starve them